Okay, well, we are back with CDK Live. So thanks for joining us for another session. In our session today, we're going to talk about AI in the front office, in the dealership. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself. My name's Anu Roberts. I'm Senior Director of Product Marketing for CDK and Modern Retail. And joining me today is Devin Daly. He's the co-founder and CEO of Impel. And we also have Kyle Brooks. He's our Senior Principal Product Manager at CDK as well. So we have a lot of exciting things to talk about today.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about the impact of AI on modern retailing in the dealership, some of the opportunities as well as some of the challenges in the AI space as it comes to specific to the front office. And then opportunities, just highlight some things that the dealerships can be doing to take an advantage and leverage AI today in the dealership.
Right.
So, Devin, I want to start with you. AI is, of course, all the buzz. It's definitely here at NADA. We hear it all over the industry. Let's just start by what is AI? Give us a little, just give us some education around just some definitions.
You got it, absolutely. So fundamentally, artificial intelligence is any time that a machine, in this case a computer, replicates activities typically done by a human being. We're talking analyzing patterns, reviewing information, driving insights, and it's often an activity a computer does that typically requires human intelligence. So that's really what artificial intelligence is, a computer replicating activities typically connoted by a human.
We hear a lot about generative AI, and that's a question that we often get, which is just the distinction of what is generative AI?
Yep. Absolutely. So we just touched on what the definition of general artificial intelligence is. Generative AI is a subset of artificial intelligence that creates new, never before seen, totally novel content. So you've probably heard instances where somebody will use ChatGPT to write a love letter to their spouse using a bunch of different inputs. That's totally new, novel, never before seen content. The other nuance is artificial intelligence is generally based on decision trees, logical flows, if you will, and is often trained under a model of supervised learning. Generative AI has such a massive trove of training data, it's often unsupervised learning.
Okay, great. And what about one other thing that comes up a lot is this notion of large language models. Can you touch a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So large language model, or an LLM, is an AI model that is trained on a enormous amount of data. So when we think about GPT, for instance, GPT is really trained on the entirety of the World Wide Web, or like New York Times right now is talking about licensing its historic library to a proprietary large language model. And again, because it's trained on that enormous corpus of training data, it allows it to create this novel, never before seen content. So it's not a script like you would associate with a traditional AI model. It's totally novel again. And a good example, obviously, is OpenAI's ChatGPT, GPT-3, 4, 4.5.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet.
So, Kyle, talk to us a little bit about some of the market trends that we're seeing in AI in the front office.
Sure, absolutely. So we're hearing about a lot of dealers that are looking to understand how they can leverage technology available today to simplify their lives and also to make it easier for their customers to interact with them. We're seeing a lot of interesting trends around how we can better manage data that exists in the systems they're using, how they can better communicate effectively and consistently with their customers, and then how they can ensure that their customers are being reached in the way that makes the most sense to them, often in a timeline that maybe sometimes our dealership teams aren't able to do in every case.
So, Devin, talk to us a little bit about, we're starting to see a lot of the dealers adopt AI technology. What are some of the challenges or obstacles that dealers are facing when it comes to implementing AI?
Yeah, the first thing, and we get asked this a lot by manufacturers and dealers, is, oh, GPT is available, can I just plug it into my website? And the direct answer is, we would certainly not recommend that. ChatGPT unbridled will flatly lie about your business in what's called a hallucination. It's also really not designed to drive towards business outcomes. ChatGPT is really designed to maximize response rate and really be as conversational as possible. It's almost flirtatious in the way it just tries to get the other person to continue responding. Again, not focused on driving towards what your business cares about, KPIs of appointments set or service appointments, scheduled in the system. So again, you certainly need a vendor or a partner that understands the importance of a control layer or optimization layer that sits on top of GPT. The second thing we see is really a lot of point solutions that are out there that solve or use AI for one specific use case in the dealership, but they don't talk to one another. And related to that is a lack of deep integration with existing systems, which is obviously, we're integrated with CDK, and having that core integration with an existing system is really important. The last thing I would mention is just anytime you're using AI on top of a CRM or a DMS, you're touching a huge amount of PII, personally identifiable information, and you're also texting a lot of people, and so really understanding somebody that, or working with somebody that understands the importance of TCPA compliance, data privacy, security, those types of things is really critical.
That's great. Last year CDK did a survey with our dealers around AI and kind of just essentially just a barometer of, hey, what are we seeing? How are they feeling around AI? And what we found is the vast majority, 76%, said that they were already using AI in some capacity. Now that really varies, as you just talked through, right? Like ChatGPT isn't everything, but I think there is a lot of inconsistencies in what that means. But the other big thing that came out of that was just a huge need of education around the AI space. We see that a lot. I mean, I know you do. So Kyle, what are some of the most promising areas of AI in modern retailing?
So I think first, probably the ability to have a sales assistant that really helps the team with engaging with customers. Anu mentioned the survey we did. There were about 44% of our dealers said that they were interested in having a sales assistant engage and provide that help to them with their process and touching their customers. There's also an opportunity around better maybe codifying some of the cadences of how they communicate, making it more timely to what the customer needs, and a more realistic and personal response that you get from having a model that is personalized and reaches out to that customer when they need to, where they're at.
So Devin, as Kyle just mentioned, the notion of virtual assistants, AI virtual assistants, that was the number one area where dealers really felt that was their the main level of interest around. So talk to us about conversational AI technology, and specifically how it's addressing the customer experience at the dealership.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think there's kind of 3 or 4 main areas. One is just fundamentally answering questions. So if you think about, you get 1,000 sales leads per month, people are asking about, can you send me the Carfax? Does it have this particular feature? Can you send me interior photos? Those types of questions sap up an enormous amount of human capital time when it can really be handled by AI. The second area is really around setting appointments, both sales appointments to come in for a test drive, but also doing proactive outreach that results in service appointments. We find consumers really appreciate that almost a concierge is reaching out to them, notifying them that they may be eligible or due for service, and they're able to schedule completely online. And the third area are where I think a lot of dealers are dropping the ball today is they have no way to follow up with leads that come in overnight. So roughly 55% of leads come in while the dealership is closed. Today's consumer is used to having access to information at their fingertips at all times. Making them wait 12 or 16 hours to get a response to a simple question is just not a very modern customer experience. And lastly is around long-term follow-up. A lot of consumers are in the market for a protracted period of time for whatever reason. Most BDCs can't follow up for more than 2 or 3 days. AI will continue to follow up consistently.
Yeah, consumers they're so used to that, just real time, almost real time, just the responses that we experience in just everyday personal life. So just having that ability to reach them when they want to, having that flexibility for them is just a huge, huge benefit. So Kyle, as we're talking about the consumer experience, going from online and in-store, how are you seeing, how are you envisioning where AI can really help bridge that gap from that online to in-store experience?
I can think of a few things. The first one is really, I guess, the term hyper-personalizing it for them. Understanding the vehicle they're looking at, understanding if they're trading a vehicle in, their steps in the process. We were looking at a presentation with an interested team member, and seeing how the AI can really go in and prompt things for like an appointment. Maybe that's something that we lose track of in the process when, as a sales rep, we're so focused on talking to that customer, trying to get them to buy a car, and we lose focus on simple things like an appointment or a credit app. The AI can go in and help ensure that we're checking the necessary boxes so that when that customer gets to the dealership or decides to complete their deal online, they have everything that they need to actually complete successfully without a ton of interaction. As Devin mentioned, some of those low-value tasks tend to sap up a lot of the time. So by having a virtual assistant that can go in and help ensure those things happen, we can give that time back to our salespeople to go drive up new business, work existing business, and know that what needs to happen is happening behind the scenes for them.
Yeah, providing that really seamless, like you mentioned, very personalized experience. I mean, that's what consumers are looking for. I mean, they're definitely price sensitive, but I think in a different survey, 54% said that they really care about experience over price. That's huge, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So being able to handle that and transition that over. So Devin, let's talk a little bit about, Kyle touched on the fact that, hey, it helps free up the sales staff at the dealership to focus more on the high value items and kind of takes care of all that, low value tasks like answering those simple questions that you were mentioning. So talk a little bit about the ROI from a dealer's perspective on what ROI that they can expect when they implement an AI technology.
Yep, absolutely. So as Kyle just recently touched on, AI is really all about offloading those menial, repetitive, tedious tasks to a machine to reduce organizational drag and really free up human resources to work on those high value activities. What that results in is really improvement in operational efficiency. Your people could spend 20% more time being on the phone, building relationships, upselling products. What it fundamentally results in is increased revenue. On a more micro level, what we see is an average increase in appointment set rate by around 30 to 50%. A lot of that's driven by, on average, we see around 4x the number of touch points when AI is adopted. Second thing we see is in regards to service, we see a huge amount of incremental service revenue when somebody's using AI for automated service outreach to keep that person coming back in. And then a kind of tangential benefit that we didn't expect is actually a reduction in service phone call volume. Because the AI is proactively reaching out to let that person know that they should have service, they're not calling in, which we know is another big operational pain point in a lot of dealerships.
Absolutely. In fact, most of the calls into service are literally just for really simple things like scheduling issues or just, status issues. So offloading that is absolutely huge. And I think also just the fact that we're going into a year that is, profitability is a little bit tighter at the dealership. So being able to extend the sales staff, getting back to the basics of that lead management, lead nurturing, having AI be able to kind of leverage that and do that for them, be that sales assistant, that you mentioned, Kyle, I think is huge. So Kyle, let's talk a little bit about just the future and the future potential applications of AI in the front office.
Wow, so I was thinking about this yesterday. There's so much that we probably can't even scratch the surface. Just even thinking a few months ago, the average consumer probably didn't know what AI was. And now, just in this building, we see an awareness, people asking about what it is, how they can employ it in their businesses. We see people across all walks of life using it to better their lives and be more productive. So I think in the dealership experience, certainly more opportunity to personalize, more opportunity to understand maybe some things the consumer might not understand they need to do quite yet, to help kind of guide that customer through the path of purchasing a vehicle. And that's for our customers, right? But for our dealership users, for our managers, people that are relying on this to be more effective at what they do day in and day out, I see unlimited potential with having the ability to go in and find those things that are important, like thanking someone for their purchase, like following up a year later, 2 years later to thank them, but also maybe get them back into the funnel again. And then simple things like wishing them a happy birthday. Having a tool that can go in behind the scenes and help send text messages, help send emails, engage where that person is so valuable. And I think we're really just scratching the surface of seeing how we can use it in those aspects. We also look at ability to do prospecting our equity databases. How many dealerships just have a treasure trove of money that's just sitting untapped from people that are interested in buying a car, and they don't know that they have a great trade position, a vehicle that they can trade in. And we think just recently, and still in some cases with some manufacturers, vehicles are not coming as fast as we need them to everywhere and in every case. And being able to turn those around very quickly and have a happy customer and a new deal is just a win-win across the board. And probably the last thing, we didn't really touch on it, but having the ability to give suggestions around what to do next across other parts of the front office, whether that's early in the sales funnel, whether that's working through maybe F&I. There's a ton of opportunity there that I think we're just now getting to realize.
So Kyle, could you give us a little glimpse on the product side of some of the things that you guys are focused, you and the team are focused on in AI in the front office?
Yeah, so very exciting that this weekend we're unleashing CDK's Ava on the entire experience platform, seeing how we're using AI in different forms across the entire dealership is just great. Anything from working in the front office to the back office to understanding data and metrics for some of our analytics and operators. It's being used across the board. So from a product side, we're really eager to see how we can apply it and how we can tie in different applications across the dealership experience. We talked about follow-up, conversational AI with our customers. There's also opportunities to engage and maybe serve up the next recommended form for an F&I manager, to maybe prompt a manager to go look at a specific metric on their numbers that they wouldn't know where to find on a really big report, or they might not know is important without AI. So understanding that we now have these tools at our fingertips to look at Ava enforce across the dealership. We're going to have a lot of new connections, new data points that are made available.
Right.
And then the best part about that is every time you get something new, you can take that, funnel it back in, and make it that much better, which is really exciting to me.
Yeah, so the other thing that came to mind from the survey that we did was, aside from virtual assistants and helping with leads, was this area around equity mining. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we think about, again, that untapped database largely of customers that are in equity. Maybe they're coming to our service department regularly. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are not doing the service that we're recommending. And when we're talking more on the front office and equity, that's still important because the services they're not doing are eroding the value of that vehicle. And if the dealer wants to take that back into inventory and go sell it, they've still got to do that work anyways, maybe at a lower rate, but they still have to do that work, and they can't sell it until that reconditioning is done. So as we go through and understand where that consumer's mind's at, we can leverage AI to say, hey, this customer has a propensity to buy. They're likely going to buy in the next few months, in the next 12 months, 18 months. And then we can tailor communications to them to notify, one, them that they are in a good position to buy, but two, a manager that, hey, I know you're looking through a list of 100 people a day on the computer, and you've also got maybe 100 people a day in front of you. Here's the top 3 or 5 that are most likely to be in a position right now that you can go reach out to them and get a new unit in on trade and also sell a new car at the same time.
That's great. So Devin, as we look to wrap up here, it was really good to learn a lot about just AI in overall, which was great. What are some of the just a few takeaways you want to leave with dealers who may be just thinking about implementing, or maybe they've started down that path, but just some things that you want to leave them to consider around AI?
Yeah, I think 2 areas. I think one is fundamentally we believe this industry is on the precipice of an AI evolution, in that the average dealership is massively human capital intensive with 150 average employees, with increasing margin pressure, economic uncertainty, new entrants into the market. We firmly believe over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to go from human capital intensivity to really AI and automation enabled. So that's one just general comment. Secondly, is we see a huge opportunity to use AI to manage the entire consumer life cycle, from helping sell the vehicle, to using AI CSI surveying, to following up post-purchase, to continue selling, as Kyle touched on, F&I and even accessory products, to continuing getting that person back in for service, and then eventually, based on DMS data, equity data, what have you, understanding when that person's likely to sell their vehicle back, and again, using AI to try to acquire that inventory until the cycle starts over. And I really think using AI for entire lifecycle management not only maximizes consumer lifetime value, but really has second order benefits reputationally for a dealer, in that the dealership is constantly in touch with that consumer. They know they're doing what's right with the vehicle. It's coming from one voice, and it's hyper-personalized communication. So maximize lifetime value and better customer experience.
That's great. So Kyle, I will leave you with the last word, but similarly, what are some of the key takeaways you can leave for our dealers?
So probably the first is, hey, AI's here, right?
Yeah.
We should use it to our benefit and use it to our customers' benefit. I think understanding how we can personalize that experience is what our customers are asking for. They want us to know things that we should already know. They want us to know where to get the information into any of the 20 systems they put it in for us. So being able to grab that and hyper-personalize, make that experience what they need, is incredibly important. The second thing is, we have a lot of often very well compensated sales professionals that when we give them the chance, they're going to sell. But when we have them bogged down with things that are maybe labor intensive, not high value, or we have them working on something that's taking them weeks to deal with instead of a customer that's right in front of them right now, we're giving them opportunities to excel while they're in front of a customer and not in front of a customer. And then lastly, I would say for anyone that's looking to understand the application of the AI data sets of information available, there's going to be a lot of information about it. We're seeing resources available, we're learning ourselves, we're talking to people that are experts here like Devin, understanding how we can help our dealers help their customers. And I think that's really what this industry is all about. As we get back to understanding how we can help our dealers help our customers, I think we're all going to see a lot of success, and we're all going to be excited about it this time next year.
Yeah, that's great. You know, the one overarching theme that I feel like just hearing both of you is that, you know, AI is a tool that everybody needs to implement, but it's not a replacement, right? It's just going to enhance that human connection more and more. So I appreciate you both spending some time with me, and thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks.
you.